Home media.
Jail sucks.
This place isn't vacay. Let's get you out of here. Get bailed out quick with Big Fish bail bonds. Because jail sucks. Big or small, we release them all. 316-262-4100 or bailmeoutquick.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Tabruggi, and joining me from Phoenix is Derek. How's it going down there, Derek?
Pretty good, man. Rough day, but I'm here.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. Definitely rough day.
I usually get off like at 2:15 every day, and I didn't get off till like 4:05 today.
Oh, wow. Well,
So
I was off today,
pretty...
but never feels like a day off.
Right. Yeah, pretty rough day. Lots of bugs, man. Lots of bugs. But you know what? It's going to be cold soon, so my job's going to be pretty easy, man. They kind of take a hike in the winter for the most part, you know?
Yeah, we're kind of switching gears. We're going from the bug stuff to the mice stuff.
Yeah, I'll deal with mice in the winter. I've been dealing with those too this summer. There'll be probably a bigger problem in the winter, but yeah, you guys are probably getting a lot cooler than we are so far, especially in the nighttime. We're still hanging around 75, 80 at night.
We're still pegging around mid-90s right now. In the nighttime, it's getting around 69, 70.
Wow.
Somewhere in there.
Well, we were 109 today, which I felt it, but the humidity was only 14%. But like the last 2 weeks, there's been days where the humidity was like 80%. So I just really appreciated the dry heat today. Obviously 109 never feels good, but it wasn't terrible, man. Like I got through the day. It wasn't too terrible, but yeah, man. So
I'm seeing something interesting in our comments. It says stream elements. Derek Rilliford is now live.
Oh, we're going to my Twitch page. So that's just a message from my Twitch page. Kelsey Youngblood's here though.
Yeah, she messaged me earlier about an escapee from Lansing named Michael Strode that they're looking for that just escaped from there today.
Kelsey did?
Yeah, she was messaging me because apparently he's from the Ellsworth area and at one point lived in the house that she did some years back.
Oh, wow.
So she was wondering if he might be heading that way because somebody she talked to told her they'd seen him in the area, but
that's sketchy.
Not sure. Yeah. Well, I got all the way from Lansing clear over to Ellsworth, but I guess it's possible.
Strap up, girl.
I'm telling you.
You be safe. Trisha Arnold here from Facebook, from YouTube. Sorry about that. She said she shared out the show. Amanda Cunningham, hoping all is well. Ellen Dotson sharing us in Leavenworth. I tell you what, Ellen Dotson shares everything.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Much appreciated too.
She's radical. She shares literally everything the page does. It's so cool. And then Esther Unruh is here. Yeah. So what's the scuttlebutt, man? Anything new in true crime in the true crime world? I just saw that there's a country singer, Luke Bell, I believe, and he went missing around 9 days ago here in Arizona.
Oh, I heard about that
they
one.
found his body today.
Oh, wow.
So I guess he was suffering from bipolar. I actually, let me retract that. I've been reading so much about bipolar disorder lately. I don't remember if he had bipolar, but his friends had said that he had made some statements and they were worried about him. And I guess he came to Arizona to work on some music, and I guess he's got some hits. I've never personally heard his name, but I looked him up and he's got some hits. He's a decently known artist, but he came out here to Arizona to work on some music. Him and his buddy he was writing songs with went somewhere, I think, to get drinks or something like that, or supplies or something. But Luke was in the back of the truck, just small town life, riding in the back of the truck. And the guy went into the store to get some drinks. And when he came back, Luke was gone. And 9 days went by, and sadly, about 20 minutes ago, they released that they did find his body. So that's something I wish we would have known about. We would have loved to, talk about that preferably before we have sad news. But yeah, what about you, Ricky? Is there anything in the true crime world that's kind of got your interest this week? 'Cause I know you got your ear pretty close to the ground when it comes to podcasts and YouTube shows. And
I haven't really. There's hadn't been one case that's really stood out. I mean, there's quite a few I've been following and stuff, but there's been this another YouTube channel I just really took an interest in, and it's called Southern Girl True Crime Stories, and she usually does like 3 to 5 cases per show that she does, but she goes into pretty heavy detail on each one, and it's really grabbed my attention. I've really been watching some of hers here lately.
is that mainly where you're consuming material? Just YouTube? Is that like where you
Yeah,
prefer
pretty
to
much.
watch stuff?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't have Netflix or anything. That's what I'm thinking about. Maybe looking into getting Netflix at some point. But
I don't know, man. You seem pretty busy with YouTube. YouTube, you can watch anything on YouTube.
Oh,
Man. It's all on there, man. Stuff you might not even want to see is on YouTube. Rodney Cox saying hello, how you doing, buddy?
And of course, the pro wrestling side of me, I've been watching another YouTube channel, Tales from the Road, from Dutch Mantel. He's an older guy. He's in his 70s, but he's been in pro wrestling since the early 70s. And he shares a lot of the old road stories about a lot of the guys and stuff. And it's really cool to listen to, if you're a wrestling fan.
That's really awesome, man.
Yeah.
Nice background, Candace says. Yeah, Ricky's background, for some reason, Ricky's having issues with his virtual background.
Yeah, it's telling me it won't let me have it. So I don't know what's going on. It was working 2 weeks ago, or two shows ago, but then last week was the first week I had problems, and it's still acting up today. So
it was working fine. Well, let's just say the shopping list has a new computer for Ricky on it down the road, because I believe it's holding on by a thread. But anyway, we got a lot of show to get to. Just a quick heads up, we're not going to have a located safe tonight. We only had around 5 located safes this week. And it's because it's a short turnaround. We just did a show Thursday. So next week on Thursday, we will have a beautiful located safe for you ready to go. But yeah, let's take a quick break. Let's check in from Brandon about domestic violence, and you're watching KMU Pod. We'll be right back.
Leaving an abusive relationship is a highly personal, individual decision, but all survivors benefit from having trusted people during this time. Since those experiencing abuse are often isolated by their abusers, it's important to know how you can support survivors on their path to finding safety. If you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence, please reach out to the hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Again, that's 1-800-799-7233.
Okay, and real quick before we get into Kenny here, I was going to mention a couple of located safes that will be on the reel next week. Remember, there was the 3 young ladies that were missing from Garden City: Lauren McQuigg, Taylor Criswell, and Lucia Hernandez. Well, Taylor Criswell and Lauren McQuigg were located safe in Denver, Colorado. So they are located. Lucia is still missing, still not sure where she's at, but I was surprised to hear that the other 2 were found in Denver.
They got pretty far.
Yeah, considering they were initially seen in Wichita in a silver Mercedes, and then they were thought to possibly be in Nebraska, just to be found in Denver. So,
well, honestly, man, you have to take in consideration, just because somebody calls a number and says they saw somebody doesn't mean it was them. Like maybe not all those sightings were accurate. Maybe it was just 3 girls that look like them. So that's going to be really exciting for next week's show. Hopefully by Thursday of next week, we'll have all 3 on the located safe.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah. Well, this is a case that if you've been watching this show for the last 2 years, you feel like you know Kenny just as much as me and Ricky do. Ricky's going to tell you about our friend Kenny Rychek.
Yeah, he's missing from here in Salina since November 4th of 2019. He was 69 when he was missing. He's now 72. He's 5'9", 175 pounds, gray hair and blue eyes. He does sometimes use the last name Brown. He does suffer from diminished health capabilities, and he's on disability. He has not tried to access his money since he was last seen. He may have family in northwest Kansas, possibly around the Colby area. He was last seen at the Gospel Mission in Salina. He left there and hasn't been seen or heard from since. The information I was given was that he was evicted from his apartment, and the police department took him out to the mission, and he was having some issues with somebody at the mission, so he left. So not sure, again, nobody's heard or seen from, heard from him or seen him since then. Even All Metal Recycling up on 5th Street or 4th Street. Fifth Street. They haven't even seen him. He'd go in there quite frequently, cash in and scrap metal that he picked up, here and there to cash in for extra money and stuff like that. And they haven't seen him for quite some time. He doesn't have a cell phone, a vehicle, or identification. Again, at the time of his disappearance, he was 69. He's now 72. He's 5'9", weighs 175 pounds, has gray hair and blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Kenny's disappearance, his whereabouts, please call Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't get Kenny located, hopefully safe. Hopefully he is. I mean, we've talked about it before, since he's been missing, we've had some really, really harsh winters and some extremely hot summers. So,
yeah,
it's hard to hang on to that hope that he's still out there safe, but hopefully he is.
Yeah. Who knows, man? Like, do you know? Okay, so we get as close to these cases as we can, but obviously, we're two people with jobs and stuff. We're not detectives. Do you know if people? Because I know that the flyer reads that that some questions have been asked. Nobody's seen them around that campsite you're talking about. Do you know if anybody's gone back like all this time later and asked around, like, hey, what do you guys remember about Kenny? Anything stick out from the last interaction you had? Because I'm just wondering how much an actual investigation went into, looking for Kenny at the beginning, because Kenny was a guy, didn't have an ID, didn't have, stuff like that. So Kenny probably not seeing Kenny for a week probably was normal, I'm sure it took a while to realize he was missing. You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering how extensive of a investigation and search took place for Kenny,
Yeah, I never heard about any kind of a search or anything. I know we tried to get one going, and a couple of the guys that were going to be involved in it were clashing personality-wise, and the whole thing fell apart, so we ended up not doing it. But then I started talking to Dennis Rubel that has the Mighty Waters Search and Recovery, and he's, as far as I know, still planning on coming over to do a search. I need to touch base with him and see where that's at.
Right. Well, I'm sure Muddy Water is a lot like KMU and self-funded for the most part. So you have to do it when you can afford to do it and stuff like that, So anytime Dennis actually gets over there and looks for Kenny, that's going to be awesome. And really, when you think of a search, you think like walking out in fields and stuff, which is an important factor of a search. Right. But really, I mean, if you get involved with a search for Kenny, I think first things first, go back to that mission and see who was there in 2019 and say what was going on. Who was mad at Kenny? Who was Kenny mad at? Because that's probably a big piece of the puzzle. But again, we don't know what kind of investigation went in on this. But anyway, we all hope Kenny writes checks. Find somewhere. I think that there's a total possibility he got mad at somebody at that mission. He walked out to the highway, said, forget this town, jumped on a truck to the coast, and he has no ID. He's missing. Like that's a total possibility. The guy doesn't have an ID. So he probably doesn't have a Facebook. He's off the grid. So there's a chance Kenny's out there just living somewhere, doesn't even know he's missing. But definitely a very serious situation in Salina. And we've been trying to bring some some closure to that case, at least get some information, because it seems like a lot of people that watch the show are really, really fond of Kenny as well. Another case we cover very often, Alexander Perez. Go ahead and tell us about Alexander. This is another one we've been covering pretty much weekly since he disappeared.
Yep. Alexander's missing from Ulysses, Kansas since December 1st of 2020. He was 35 years old when he went missing. He would now be 36. He's 5'11", weighs 235 pounds, has black hair that he shaves nearly bald and brown eyes. He had called a family member on the phone on December 1st and said he'd be coming to their home to do laundry. He never arrived at the family member's home in Ulysses, and he has not been heard from or seen since that time. He had been staying with family and friends prior to his disappearance. It's believed that Alexander may still be in the local Ulysses area, or he may be in the Garden City, Kansas, or surrounding areas. Again, at the time of his disappearance, Alex was 35. He's now 36. He's 5'11", weighs 235 pounds, has black hair that he shaves nearly bald and brown eyes, has a tattoo of a bumblebee on his face underneath his left eye, has Perez tattooed on one of his arms. He has a tattoo of a cross on a chain across his chest. If you have any information regarding Alexander's disappearance or you know his whereabouts, please call the Grant County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 620-356-3500 or the Ulysses, Kansas Police Department at 620-356-4600, or you can call the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't get Alex found and back home. And there's got family that are really looking for him and want him back home where he needs to be.
Yeah, and they're getting kind of tired of waiting, like it's
Yeah.
a long time. They want to hear some news, and obviously the police can't give them news until they have the news to give it to them. There's a lot of frustration. There's not a cop in Ulysses or Garden City or Western Kansas that doesn't want to solve this case and find out what happened.
Yeah, and sadly we're 3 months away from that 2-year mark, so
yeah. I hope there's some type of announcement before then. I mean, you just want the family to know, at least if there's any theories floating around. But there's always a situation where you don't want to say too much. The law enforcement has to hold their cards close. But this is the voicemail. The flyer says December 1st is the last time he was seen. This is a voicemail that he sent to our source on December 6th.
I don't know, man. I'm supposed to be going back early morning to go get some shit and then go get some other stuff down there and bring it back down here, but I don't even know, man. It's been wild down there. It's been crazy. Fucking been held at gunpoint and robbed and tried to beat me up. It's a bunch of crazy shit going on in GC, man.
yeah, it sounds like it was a pretty bad situation there.
Yeah.
Don't know if that factored into his missing status or not.
You never know, man, but it seems like he was in trouble in Garden City. That's what I got from the voicemail.
Yeah.
Unless he was just making stuff up. I mean, the thing is he didn't seem like all the stuff that he described that he went through.
Right.
I would be a lot more shaken up than he was in his like body language and voice tone. But we don't know if that was normal in his world. Like that was like just happened to be another time that he got jumped and beat up. Who knows? Like when you, who knows? So yeah, it's just who knows? We got Andrea Lynn is here from Junction City. Connie Judd says Monday is her birthday. She wishes Kenny would be found safe.
Oh, okay.
Lori Hayes from Hayes is in the house. We always love it when she stops by.
And Trisha confirms 5th Street owned where all metal recycling, formerly known as Saline Iron and Metal.
Yeah, Kelsey says this one is a tricky one.
May the family have their closure and answers soon. Yes, hopefully they will.
Gene Wheeler says, Derek, did it occur that he knows the person?
Possible.
Matthew Sondag says, there's a whole world in GC I don't care for. Crazy. It's true, but at the same time, Garden City is just like any other town in America. You can find, if you took a film crew there, you can find enough beautiful stories to make an awesome show. But any town, you look deep enough, you can find some bad stuff. Like Ricky, like I'm sure, like what is your police blotter like in Salina weekly? I mean, I'm sure people aren't obeying, a
lot of thefts, a lot of drug charges.
I mean, in any town you go to, there's a greasy underside that sadly exists.
Yeah.
My only hope is that people that are lost in that world find their way out, And but as far as did it occur that he knows the person, I'm not really sure what you meant by that. Do you mean he knows the person he sent the voicemail to, or he knows the people that beat him up? I'm not sure. Again, to me, his body language just didn't seem that worried. I would have been freaking out. But again, if he was involved in anything that was illegal, that's a scary situation to be in, because you want to go to the police and say, hey, somebody's trying to hurt me. But if you're doing something illegal, you can't necessarily just go to the police station and be like, hey, I'm breaking the law, but somebody's trying to hurt me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
That's why you should really think about it before you get mixed up in a world like that, because it is blood in, blood out almost. Let's talk
Right.
about Dana Jane Bruce, Sedalia, Missouri case.
Right. And Gene was also saying, he was confirming his other statement, but did it occur that he knows the person, meaning the people, was the people that beat him up that may have been responsible for him being missing? I think is what he means.
I mean, if I was Columbo, I would start there. But again,
Yeah.
I'm not a cop. I'm not a detective. I don't know, and I don't know the first thing about investigating a missing person. But
Right.
to me, it seems like if that was sent 5 days after the last time he was seen alive. Well, I mean to say that seen alive, the last time he was seen, because we don't know what he's missing right now. So the last time that he was seen, and then that voicemail comes 5 days later, and that's the last transmission we've got from him. That's scary to me. It's
Right.
like, hey, this is the only thing you're going to hear from me from now on, and somebody tried to hurt me recently. That's a scary thing to hear. So yeah,
Right.
who knows?
And Andrea is asking if it is possible for us to do Rosalind Velasquez's case. We might be able to get it in on next week's show, possibly. Well, we can get it on next week's show for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna write that down in my notes so I don't forget. Real quick here, and then we'll cover Dana.
Yeah, we got Dana up here on the screen.
Yep. She's missing from Sedalia, Missouri since October 4th of 2008. She was 23 when she went missing. She'd now be 37. She's 5'2", 98 pounds, has brown hair and green or hazel eyes. She was last seen at her children's babysitter's home in Sedalia. She had left the children there earlier that day so she could go out for the evening. She returned at midnight and gave the babysitter more money and asked her to watch the children for the rest of the night. Dana was seen at the Malone's bar on Main Street with the young man driving a late model red Ford F-150 truck earlier on the night of her disappearance. She left with that man at 11:30. Police have ID'd him, and he did travel to Atlanta after her disappearance, and police questioned him about Bruce after he was arrested there on unrelated charges of marijuana possession and driving on a suspended license. They have not named him publicly, but they are calling him a person of interest in her case. He told his questioners that he and Dana parted ways after they left the bar, and he never saw her after that. She left all of her belongings behind, including her hairbrush and toothbrush. She does not have credit cards, debit cards, a checking account, a cell phone, or a car. Again, at the time of her disappearance, she was 23. She'd now be 37. She's 5'2" and weighs 98 pounds. She has brown hair that was colored brown at the roots and black at the ends with red highlights and green or hazel eyes. She was last known to be wearing a black shirt with the word Rebel and silver lettering on the front and blue jeans. She has a tattoo of a teddy bear with wings and the name Dylan on her upper left arm. She's blind in her left eye. She has a 2-inch scar along her lower spine and a staple scar on her right shoulder. Her ears are pierced one time each. If you have any information regarding Dana's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Sedalia, Missouri Police Department at 660-827-7823 or 660-826-8100, or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178, or their toll-free number is 866-362-6422. And see if we can't help get Dana located and back home to her family, because again, there's another family that's really looking hard for her and wanting her to be brought back home.
Yeah, and she has a kid that's at least 14 years old, because this was 14 years ago.
Right.
So that's her kid's older than 14, but her child is at least 14, and that's old enough to have a lot of questions about what's going on.
And Roxanne was asking about Alex. She said since Alex was supposed to be at a relative's the next morning, and no mention of that, seems like recording could have been done at a previous time.
Yeah, we've thought about that.
Yeah.
Well, it was timestamped December 6th, I believe is what it said. So that's when it was sent. It was December 6th. But yeah, there's even the source that gave us that audio, they said that they have no idea if it was recorded on the 6th or if it was sent on the 6th.
Right. And Trish is asking if we could cover Stephen Bettles, his homicide on September 15th of 2009. It's the anniversary that's coming up here pretty soon.
Course.
Yeah, we can get him on the next show too. I've already noted him down here in my notes.
Yeah, we definitely want to do the anniversary shows,
Yeah.
Well, let's keep on cruising here, man. Tell us about Paul Jennings. This looks like this is about a year ago.
Yeah, and this is actually one I just did recently too. He's missing from Hutchinson, Kansas since August 19th of 2021. He's 56 when he went missing. He'll now be 57. He was 6'1", 190 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. After his disappearance, Paul's wallet, paycheck, and cell phone were found in his apartment. Again, at the time of his disappearance, Paul was 56. He's now 57. 6'1", weighs 190 pounds, has brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Paul's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Hutchinson, Kansas Police Department at 620-694-2816 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. See if we can't help get Paul located and back home where he needs to be.
I mean, how daunting is it to be an LE? Like all these cases we cover, all these people need manpower looking for them. It's just so many cases.
Dana's son Dylan is almost 18 and her daughter Desi is 16. Thank you, Ellen.
That's what I'm saying. Like we have two, and you look at this flyer and you just think of, oh, Dana, where's she at? She's 23. No, she's not. She's 37 now. It's like,
yeah,
it's really, you don't have an age progression photo for her, so like you just see her at 23 years old. It's almost like she's forever 23 in this, and in the public eye. But she has kids that are grown-ups, like one of them's a grown-up, the other one's like might as well be a grown-up. She's 16 years old, she could drive a car. It's like there needs to be some resolution. And we read the flyer and I feel like the flyer's kind of vague, and it says she left with a guy and then he took off shortly after she disappears. He gets in some legal trouble, very, very soon after, and he's questioned. And to me, Ricky, because it kind of leaves it vague of whether or not he's a person of interest. But if it's, why even put him on there if it's not a big deal? To me, that the guy who left the town, he left the state after she went missing, like to me that's always been a big thing. Like, well, who was it and what did you learn when you talked to them? Because like it seems like you just leave town the same time somebody goes missing. It's just a red flag,
right?
Why even put him on the why even mention him in the blotter if you don't think it's a big deal that she left with him? It's just, I don't know. I feel like that's the hard part about doing this show is, you only get the information that's given to us, and you kind of have to piece together what do you think is going to happen out of what do you think happened out of that, and a lot of times you're probably wrong.
Right.
Wow. Well, let's talk about Antonio Lopez, Kansas City, Kansas, 2 years ago.
All right. He is missing from Kansas City, Kansas since September 23rd of 2020. He was 16 when he went missing. He's now 18. He's 4'9", 130 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Antonio's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department at 913-596-3000 or KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't get him located and back to where he needs to be.
Yeah, and it's one of those. There was like some kind of, and I don't really want to get into it, but there was like some kind of debate going on the page the other day about somebody being 18 or something, and some of the people were like, "Why do you have this flyer? This person's 18; they're an adult now." But I mean, if there's been no contact, because in theory, you look at this, you're like, "Oh, Antonio's an adult now. If he wants to be, quote unquote, missing, if he wants to be where nobody knows where he is, then that's his right." But I think, the reason it's still important to share these flyers is because if there's been no contact with people in this long, that's scary. I mean, either Antonio is good at hiding or something bad has gone wrong. That 2 years is a long time.
Yeah.
So, hopefully somebody watching tonight knows Antonio, knows of his whereabouts, and can contact the numbers that Ricky listed off tonight. And you can find all these flyers right there on the KMU, the Kansas Missing and Unsolved page. So,
right.
Yeah, hopefully we can get some somebody. Hopefully somebody sees that tonight in the Kansas City area that needs to see it. Let's talk about this one. This is going to be an older case, 1989, Terry Cornell George.
Yeah. Missing from Topeka, Kansas since June 21st of 1989. He was 40 when he went missing. He would now be 73. He's 5'7", 150 pounds, brown hair and blue eyes. His ex-wife stated that she took him to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and dropped him off as per his request. He has never been seen or heard from again. Terry's sister reported him missing in April of 1998, almost 9 years after she last heard from him. At the time of the initial report, no foul play was feared in Terry's disappearance. Don't know if that's changed since then or not. Again, at the time of his disappearance, Terry was 40 years old. He would now be 73. He's 5'7" tall and weighs 150 pounds, has brown hair and blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Terry's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Topeka, Kansas Police Department at 785-368-9247 or 785-368-9551 or 785-368-9200 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't help get Terry located and back to where he needs to be. It's been quite a long while.
Long time.
Almost 33 years.
Very long time. That's got to be really rough.
Yeah.
Our friend Kaylee is here.
Yeah.
Our friend Donda is here. Going back to Dana Bruce, Alan's saying there's more to the story than the police want people to know. And, yeah, we get that, and that's a valid point. But the thing is, in my opinion, and again, I am not a police officer, but in my opinion, when it's been this long, if it's been this long, so say Terry here, say they have information that's a little, off balance, that's not good about what may have happened to Terry, and it's been 33 years, and they're like, well, we don't want to say too much, we don't want to jeopardize the case. Me personally, I'm like, hey, it's been 33 years, throw it in the air. Let's do a Hail Mary. Just throw it as high as you can and see what comes down. Because after a while, Dana's been missing. Like I said, her kids 18 and 16.
18 and 14.
18 and 16.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's tough, man. Why not? I understand keeping your cards close, but it's been a long time. Why not do a Hail Mary? Again, I'm not a cop, and that's probably a good reason why they wouldn't give me a badge, Ricky. But to me, it's just been so long that it's like, hey, let's try anything to get some resolution on this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's talk about Trinity.
Yeah, we covered her a couple of times. I keep adding photos to her flyer as I get them. She's still missing from Salina, Kansas since August 12th of 2022. She's 15 years old. She's 5'2" to 5'6", weighs 125 pounds. She has blonde hair that was dyed half black and half red. It's believed that she may be in Manhattan, Fort Riley, Junction City, or the Grandview Plaza, Kansas area. She was initially missing with the other young lady, but the other young lady had been found already. If you have any information regarding Trinity's disappearance, you know of her whereabouts, please call the Wamego, Kansas Police Department at 785-456-9553 or the Riley County, Kansas Police Department at 785-537-2112 or the Manhattan, Riley County, Kansas Crime Stoppers at 785-539-7777 or the KBI at 296-4017. See if we can get Trinity located and back to where she needs to be. Hopefully she's all right where she's at, but she needs to get a hold of somebody and say, hey, here's where I am. Come get me. I'm ready to come back. And talking to her mom, it sounds like, this whole situation would have had a lot different outcome had she not ran. But since she has ran, it's going to make things a little more complicated for Trinity. So Trinity, you need to really get a hold of somebody and let them know where you are and have them come and get you.
And I say this a lot this part of this time of year, but school's starting, it's gotta get an education, even if it's homeschooling, even if it's testing out of high school, even if it's whatever that case. I've been saying right now, your brain is very capable of soaking up knowledge. So you should be learning right now. Like Ricky's saying, you need to call somebody, go home, and go to school and and just do something with your life. You know, you have so much. You're 15 years old. You have so much time left here on this planet.
Mhm.
So again, just if you see this, go home, please, and study. To pay attention in school. I wish I would have. Trust me.
Right.
Let's talk about TJ.
All right. And actually, we covered him in the past, but he had been located, and I was contacted recently and asked to get another one going for him. Thomas Wierzinski, missing from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, since August 22nd of 2022. He's 15 years old. He's 5'10", weighs between 225 and 230. Has brown hair and brown eyes. He was last seen in the area of the 3600 block of 16th Street Southwest in Cedar Rapids. He was last known to be wearing a red cap, gray hoodie, red athletic shorts, and red shoes. If you have any information regarding Thomas's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Cedar Rapids, Iowa Police Department at 319-286-5491. And let's see if we can't get him located and back to where he needs to be.
Well, at least you know he has came home before in the past. You know.
Yeah, he was located in the past and whatever reason decided to run again or
Who
go
knows?
missing
Man?
again, whichever.
Who knows?
Yeah.
The morning I had, man, I taken off for a few days sounds good sometimes, man. I get it. Sometimes you need a break, but you know, you gotta, like I said, school is starting. It is time to buckle up and get your learn on. From in my opinion, I think, you know, it's very important to be in school right now. Let's talk about this case, 1993. Again, we're talking 30 years here. Looks like it happened in Topeka.
Yeah, Marjorie L. Tucker. She went missing from Topeka, Kansas on March 12, 1993. She was 65 when she went missing. She would now be 95. She's 5 foot tall, weighs 90 pounds, has gray or partially gray hair and brown eyes. Again, she was last seen in Topeka on March 12, 93. The photos actually were taken 10 years before she went missing. More recent photos are not available at this time. Again, she was 65 when she went missing. She would now be 95. She's 5 foot tall and weighs 90 pounds. She has gray or partially gray hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Marjorie's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Topeka, Kansas Police Department at 785-368-9415 or 785-368-9247 or 785-368-9551 or 785-368-9200 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't hopefully get Marjorie located and back to where she needs to be. It's been quite a long while.
Very long time, 30 years.
Yeah.
I've been spending a lot of time in the 90s this past couple of weeks. Like, I'm somebody who doesn't really watch a lot of television or really watch a lot of anything. My favorite thing to do is read about stuff that happened in the past. I don't really like fantasy. I like reality. I like to read like Wikipedia pages of random people that are famous for some reason that I just learned about. Like, so, but I've been listening to a lot of 90s music and you know, that's a long time ago, man. It's 90s music is now classic rock. You know what I mean? Like, that's 90s for a long time ago.
Yep.
It's very wild, man. Very wild for my brain to wrap around that. Let's talk about Kelly Allen, missing since 2007.
Okay.
And it looks like there is an age progression photo on this one.
Yeah, there is for her. She's missing from Berkeley, Missouri since March 13, 2007. She was 20 when she went missing. She would now be 35. She's 5'4", 165 pounds. She has brown hair and hazel eyes. She was last seen at a female friend's apartment in the 8600 block of Frost Avenue in Berkeley. She was staying there for a few days. Kelly was at the apartment when her friend left for work. The friend spoke to her on the phone that day while Kelly was at home. When Kelly's friend returned, Kelly was missing. Authorities state Kelly is missing under suspicious circumstances and may be in danger. It is uncharacteristic for her to leave without warning. All of her belongings were left behind, including her purse and a tax return check for $2,000. On the day of her disappearance, she went to a job interview at a telemarketing company on Watson Road and made an appointment for a second interview. She was looking for work closer to her St. Louis, Missouri home. Kelly was a nursing student at the time of her disappearance. And at the time of her disappearance, she was 20. She would now be 35. She's 5'4" and weighs 165 pounds. She has black hair and hazel eyes. Kelly wore micro-braided blonde hair extensions at the time of her disappearance. Kelly was a non-smoker and a non-drinker in 2007. She has a tattoo of 2 brown eyes and a rose on her left shoulder and a tattoo of a half moon behind her left ear, and her ears are pierced. If you have any information regarding Kelly's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the St. Louis, Missouri Metropolitan Police Department at 314-444-5738 or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or toll free at 866-362-6422 and see if we can't get Kelly located and back to where she needs to be.
Yeah, you said there's like some suspicious circumstances. That's just, you never know what somebody's going through. You never know. But again, like this, and again, I'm sure the police have a whole list of theories.
I'm sure.
But again, that's stuff that we're not privy to. So we can just show her flyer and really try to generate some people recognizing her. Maybe they've seen her, maybe they've heard about her. So
Right.
let's talk about Carly Renee Estes.
Alrighty.
Wichita, Kansas.
Right. Missing since April 28th of 2022. She's 20 years old. She's 5'2", 130 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Carly's disappearance or you know her whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-268-4181 or 316-268-41111 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. See if we can't get Carly located and back to where she needs to be. It's been several months now. Hopefully she's doing okay and just needs to let somebody know where she's at so they can get her back to where she needs to be.
Right. Yeah, it's a long time. It's a long time to go, and 20's young. I mean, that's a long time to go for somebody who's like 45 that you haven't heard from them. It's just when nobody's heard from you. That's always, again, she's 20. She can do whatever she wants to do. If she wants to go, like live in a cabin somewhere without the internet for 5 years, like that's fine. But nobody that you cut contact off with everybody, that's scary. That's really sketchy. Like there's not a single person you've contacted in this long. That's your mind has to wonder and be like, is something bad happened? Like,
right.
This one is a case that we've covered quite a few times. Let's talk about Ira.
Okay, he's missing from Lanton, Missouri since December 17th of 2020. He was 25 when he went missing, and now he'll be 27. He's 5'8", 160 pounds, brown hair and blue eyes. The day before Ira went missing, 2 people exchanged gunfire inside a house in nearby Koshkonong. I don't know if I said that right, probably not. Both of them know Ira, which gave investigators reason to possibly think there could be a connection. It was determined that Ira is an associate of both individuals that were involved in that shooting. Investigators are working to determine if there could be a connection between what led up to the shooting and Ira's disappearance. 1 week after Ira was reported missing, his car was located in a scrapyard. At the time of his disappearance, he was 25. He'd now be 27. He's 5'8", weighs 160 pounds. He has brown hair and blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Ira's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Howell County, Missouri Sheriff's Office at 417-256-2544 or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or their toll-free number 866-364-6422 and see if we can't get Ira located and back to where he needs to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's time flies, man. It's gonna be December before too long, man.
Right. And we have another YouTuber that just popped in, Mary Huff. How you doing, Mary?
Hello.
I like to see the activity from YouTube. Keep it going, guys. Keep it going.
I think we're talking about a previous flyer, but we got Double T over here with his vote of confidence.
That was on Marjorie Tucker.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
The one that was 95.
it would be 95. Yeah, if she
Would be
was still
95.
around.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean that's pretty old, man. Usually, if you're 95, unless you're I don't know. There's some, I've seen some 95-year-old people that are pretty active, but usually you need a lot of help when you're 95. Let's talk about tonight's featured case. The show is named after Elvin, Everett, Crist. This is a Lawrence, Kansas case. Again, 1996. We're in the 90s a lot tonight. Tell us about what happened in Lawrence back then.
Okay. Elvin Everett Crist is missing from Lawrence, Kansas since December 10th of 1996. He was 40 when he went missing, and now he's 66. He's 5'10", weighs 155 pounds, has brown hair and brown eyes. Some agencies refer to Elvin as Alan Crist. He and his father worked together at their family landscaping business. Elvin's father last saw his son at the end of their workday, and they planned to meet up the next morning as usual. Elvin didn't show up for work the next morning, and his family has not heard from him since then. Weeks later, Elvin's truck was later found in a parking lot at the University of Kansas campus. A receipt inside the truck indicated that Elvin had gone to JCPenney's to exchange a pair of jeans. Someone tried to cash his personal checks after his disappearance, but the checks bounced, and police were unable to identify the individual who used them. His loved ones stated he was just a regular guy who had no history of drug or alcohol abuse, no criminal record, and no known reason to take his own life. Again, at the time of his disappearance, he was 40. He'd now be 66. He's 5'10", weighs 155 pounds, has brown hair that's thinning in the front and brown eyes. He wears wire-rimmed glasses, and his right ear is pierced. If you have any information regarding Elvin's disappearance, or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Lawrence, Kansas Police Department at 785-832-7509 or 785-423-4623 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't help get Elvin located and back to where he needs to be.
You spent much time in Lawrence in your days?
I have been by it, but I don't think I've actually ever been in Lawrence. So no.
Really?
I've been by it several times, just never gone into it. Not for lack of wanting to, just never had time to at the time.
Right. Just never had a reason to go, really. Well,
Right.
I went there for like a couple concerts, but a lot of times concerts go to other towns than Lawrence, with Lawrence isn't very big. Definitely has a lot of history though. So yeah, that's man. A lot of cases from the 90s, man. That's a long time ago, man.
Right.
Another lifetime. I mean, this is what, 26 years ago?
Yeah.
This is another 99. Wow, we're just like definitely in the 90s here. We've covered James before, right? Like I remember his face.
Yeah. Let's see. There he is, right there. Missing from Palmyra, Missouri, since September 15th, 1999. He was 30 when he went missing. He'll now be 52. 6 foot tall, weighs 180 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. Dale resided with his parents on their 200-acre farm near Palmyra, Missouri. He was last seen inside their house during the morning hours of September 15th of 1999. Dale's mother noticed that he had left all of his personal belongings behind, including his wallet. She assumed her son would return home shortly, as all of his vehicles were parked near the family's farm. Dale's mother became concerned when he failed to contact anyone by noon. He has never been heard from again. And Dale's mother told authorities that she did not hear any cars approach their residence during the morning of their son's disappearance. He left a large amount of money in his bank account, which has remained untouched since his disappearance. There's not been any activity on Dale's Social Security number either. His loved ones walked around the family's property after he was reported missing, but no evidence related to his case was discovered. A new sheriff was elected in Marion County, Missouri in January 2000. Dale's father requested that law enforcement look into his son's disappearance again shortly afterwards. There was speculation that the former sheriff did not thoroughly investigate Dale's case, an accusation that he denied. The former sheriff said that he believed Dale may have left on his own accord to start a new life, but he admitted there was no evidence to support this theory. The new sheriff administration followed numerous unconfirmed sightings of Dale, which were reported from St. Louis, Missouri, Texas, and Memphis, Tennessee. All the incidents proved to be false leads. The Yarborough family's farm was extensively searched by law enforcement in June 2002, nearly 3 years after his disappearance. The former sheriff did not conduct an extensive investigation of the area in 1999. Dale occasionally walked to a wooded area on the property near the Fabius River. It did not appear that he was injured in an accident at the location. Dale vanished during bow scouting for deer season, but authorities stated that they did not believe his disappearance was related to the event. Investigators announced that they completed a thorough search of the property at the end of June 2002, but no evidence connected to Dale's case was discovered. The farm encompasses rough terrain with numerous steep inclines. Rumors persisted that Dale visited Jim Gibson prior to his disappearance. Gibson was a local resident who was convicted of child molestation after Dale vanished in 1999. Authorities interviewed Gibson at a prison in Jefferson City, Missouri during the summer of 2002. They announced that Gibson was not involved in the case. Investigators do believe that several individuals in the local area have information that could solve Dale's disappearance. If you have any information regarding Dale's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Marion County, Missouri Sheriff's Office at 573-769-2077 or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or their toll-free number 866-362-6422 and see if we can't help get Dale located and back to where he needs to be.
Seems to be a lot of sketchy things surrounding September 15th. You have a sheriff being I mean, there's that flyer. Wow, there's a lot going on there.
All right.
Anytime you have like where you have to type the sheriff denies this allegation, it's like what? You just think everything's gonna work out when somebody's missing. You think like all the people are good guys and they're going in for it, but who knows? It's like you talk about small town politics, small town police. It's tough. But wow, 22 years ago, this is rough for anybody that knew him. Anybody that was hanging around with James back in '99.
Right.
Yeah.
1999.
I will say this though, the frames.
Mm-hmm.
In '99, I wouldn't have thought those were cool, but in 2022, those are probably pretty cool. Like those are pretty cool frames, man. I like them.
I used to wear frames similar to that at one time.
I've always wore the thick black glasses, like the 1960s, like high school photo. I saw in like the high school photos in our like little our high school yearbook. But yeah, I know like that's they're very fashionable glasses. It seems like for these days, for now. So
yeah,
hopefully there's some kind of resolution on that. That's been just way too long.
Yeah, when I was in grade school, I used to wear frames very similar to the ones you're wearing, only but black.
But black. See, so we switched. Yeah. See, and now that I wear the thick frames all the time, people are kind of reverting back to what you have, more similar, more wire frame and stuff. So I'm always a good 15 years behind the curve, but it's all right. Let's talk about this Weldon Spring, Missouri case. Looks like fairly new, April of 2022, but he has had a birthday.
Yeah, it's actually encompasses 3 states. Actually, he's missing from Weldon Springs, Missouri, since April 16th of this year. He was 21 when he was missing, and now be 22. Was unable to get a height or weight, but he has black hair and brown eyes. He was on his way from Orlando, Florida, to Wichita to visit family when GPS showed his car suddenly stopped moving west of St. Louis. It stayed there for at least a day before moving. The family was able to learn through the insurance company that someone had sideswiped Fasica on the highway in a hit-and-run accident. Tow truck driver took the car to a lot and dropped Fasica off at a gas station nearby. That was on April 16th. Nobody has heard from him since then. Fasica left his clothing and laptop behind in the damaged car. His phone is not working, and as far as his family knows, he's not tried to call them on anybody else's phone. If you have any information regarding Fasica's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-268-4111 or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-751-3313 or 573-562-6178 or their toll-free number 866-362-6422 and see if we can't get Fasica Kenfei Tadell located and back to his family, because I know they are very, very worried about him. You're muted, Derek.
Oh, sorry, I had to call. I mean, that I was just saying, like, that's like a parent's worst nightmare. Your kid's like, well, I'm in my 20s now. I'm gonna take a trip. I'm gonna drive, a few states away, and this is just a nightmare scenario. The GPS situation, and that is very scary. So yeah, so if you say 3 states is where they're kind of putting this search, that there's a possibility of 3 states basically.
Well, he left from Florida to Wichita, and then he had the little sideswipe accident in Missouri. So, yeah, basically 3 states. Yeah.
Wow. Well, hopefully somebody in the Missouri area, or I guess Wichita too. Did he? I guess we don't know much about it, but yeah, that's very scary. As a father, my kid will eventually be like, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna take a trip. I'm gonna drive a few states away," and that's very scary. Like that's
Yeah.
it's awful, man. I always just feel bad, like for these families. Like this. You got to be worried about your kid.
Yeah, and this one is Christina Maxine Whitaker, missing from Hannibal, Missouri since November 13th of 2009. She was 21 when she went missing. She'll now be 34. She's 5'5" to 5'6", weighs between 120 and 130 pounds. She has red hair and brown eyes. She went with friends to Rookie Sports Bar in the 600 block of Broadway. She was asked to leave after she became drunk and began harassing other bar patrons. Christina asked several different people for a ride. She became upset when no one would give her a ride and left on foot alone at 11:45. Her cell phone was found lying on the ground on South 7th Street, several blocks away. Christina's mother believes her mental illness may have played a role in her disappearance. She described her daughter as childlike and naive and said that psychiatric medication she took made her susceptible to manipulation. Christina was diagnosed and taking medication for bipolar disorder. There have been reported sightings of her in the Peoria, Illinois area since her disappearance. Christina has a warrant out for her arrest. She's been arrested for driving on a revoked license before her disappearance and missed a court date on December 18, 2009. Her family doesn't believe she left of her own accord, as she has no history of such behavior. If you have any information regarding Christina's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Hannibal, Missouri Police Department at 573-221-0987 or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or their toll-free number at 866-362-6422 and see if we can't help get Christina located and back to her family. Hopefully she's okay. We just need to get her found and back to her family. You muted again.
I was just saying 2009. That's even a long time ago.
Yeah. And this is just a few day old case here. Crist, let's see, Casey Wilds, missing from Raymore, Missouri since August 28th of this year. He's 13. He's 5'4", weighs 120 pounds, has brown hair, not sure on the eye color. He's last seen in the area of Taco Bell in Raymore, could possibly trying to get to the Independence, Missouri area. Again, he's 13 years old, 5'4", weighs 120 pounds, has brown hair that is shaved on the sides, and the top may be up in a bun. He does not always wear his glasses. If you have any information regarding Casey's disappearance or you know his whereabouts, please call the Raymore, Missouri Police Department at 816-331-0530 or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or 866-362-6422 is their toll-free number, and see if we can't help get Casey located and back to where he needs to be. And going back to Christina Whitaker real quick, she does have a daughter of her own as well. I'm not sure on the age, but she does have a daughter.
Well, 2009, I mean, she'd at least be... I'm not good at math, Ricky. You are, but I mean, yeah, 2009, a long time ago.
Yeah, I'd say probably at least early teens, possibly.
Right.
I'm hearing she was possibly 19 months old when Christina went missing. So yeah, she'd be early teens.
Wow.
Like around maybe 13.
Well, speaking of 13, Casey here's 13. That's young, dude. 13.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. This is Omaha, Nebraska, and this is a 2020 case.
Deja Tucker, missing from Omaha, Nebraska since November 24th of 2020. She was 15 when she went missing. She'll now be 17. She's 5'6" to 5'7", weighs 130 pounds. She has brown hair and brown eyes. It's believed she may still be in the Omaha area, or she may be in Iowa. Again, at the time of her disappearance, she was 15. She's now 17. She's 5'6" to 5'7", weighs 130 pounds. She has brown hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a pink long-sleeve T-shirt, black sweatpants, and white Converse high-top shoes. She was also carrying a gray Omaha Steaks backpack. If you have any information regarding Deja's disappearance, do you know her whereabouts, please call the Omaha, Nebraska Police Department at 402-444-5818 or Nebraska Missing Persons Clearinghouse at 877-441-5678. See if we can't get Deja located and back to where she needs to be. And by my count, we have about 3 left to cover.
3 left,
tonight.
man. We do.
Yep.
We're gonna cover those 2 homicides we didn't get to last week. We were like an hour and 15 last week when we called the show, but we're only at an hour and 1 minute. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Bryant.
Okay, Bryant D. Thomas. He's missing from Kansas City, Missouri since August 25th of 2022. He's 37 years old. He's 5'5", 180 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. He was last known to be driving a red 2015 Ford Fusion with Missouri license plate CR8M5X, which was located abandoned on East 30th Street and Chestnut Avenue in Kansas City. And he's 37 years old. He's 5'5", weighs 180 pounds, has black hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Bryant's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department at 816-234-5220 or 816-234-5510 or Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or their toll-free number of 866-362-6422 and see if we can't help get Bryant located and back to his family. I know they are really posting heavily on Facebook trying to get him located.
It's been 5 days, so yeah, I mean, that's a lot. 5 days is a long time, but it's also not very long time. It just depends on how you look at it. But hopefully they get some answers. Hopefully somebody in the Kansas City, Missouri area can see this and they get some answers. But
no, I got a correction here. It looks like Christina Whitaker's daughter was 6 months old when Christina went missing, not 19 months old.
Okay,
so 6 months old.
6 months old.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and cover some unsolved homicides. Let's talk about Valencia.
Okay. This is an unsolved homicide from Wichita, September 13th, 2020. Wichita police officers responded to the 1600 block of South Water around 8:35 p.m. for a shooting at a residence. They arrived to find Valencio Hill and a 41-year-old woman who had been shot. Both Valencio and the woman were taken to an area hospital for treatment. Valencio did die from his injuries. The woman did recover. They were at the home on water with several other people. Some people they didn't know walked up to the house and fired multiple shots from the street, striking the victims and surrounding properties. The 2 suspects fled in a black Mercedes 4-door car. If anybody has any information regarding Valencio's death, please call the KBI at 800-572-7463. Or you can also call the Sedgwick County Crime Stoppers at 316-267-2111. Or you can go to Wichita Sedgwick County Crime Stoppers.com or their free mobile app and report it that way as well. And see if we can help figure out who committed this and get some justice for Valencio and his family.
My only issue I have with Crime Stoppers is that there's just so many numbers,
Right.
Like I wish it was just something that was just like a standalone number, but again, that would get messy as far as tips from all over the country and stuff. But
right.
Every time I've ever tried to look up Crime Stoppers for a case, it seemed to be like, even like say Salina, it seemed like they had more than one number. It seemed like so.
Sometimes, yeah.
But it's an amazing It's an amazing thing to have out there, and especially when people can say something anonymously, because that's the main reason people don't say something, is because they don't want to end up in the courtroom being a witness. You know, I don't know.
Right.
It's good to be able to say something anonymously.
Oh wow, we got somebody named Wade Kite. Cheers from Vegas, people. Well, welcome from Vegas, or from Kansas, from Vegas there. Thank you for being here, Wade. And let's see, Terrell Akabach. This is another unsolved homicide from Shawnee County from April 26, 1976. This goes back quite a ways. Terrell's body was discovered April 26, 76 at the side of a dirt road near Southwest 2nd and Urish Road, just south of the Kansas River, about 1 mile west of Wanamaker Road. Terrell, 18, was badly beaten with a tree branch and partially nude with uniquely shaped puncture marks on her body. If anybody has any information regarding Terrell's death, please call the Shawnee County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 785-251-2200 or Crime Stoppers at 785-234-0007 or the KBI at 800-572-7463, which is their 800-KS crime number, and let them know what you know regarding Terrell Akabach's death there, and see if we can get some justice for Terrell's family and Terrell as well.
Kansas has got a lot of problems, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And way to say hi, thank you for helping. And, oh, that was Missy, so sorry. And wait, so their case can be closed for closure for families, definitely.
At the end of the day, that's all you can really do is get some type of closure and some kind of, the ending of the story.
Right. Yeah, it's a sad deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Wade's last comment here. He said some sick, I won't use the word, in this world. Yeah, definitely.
Clean it up,
some
Wade.
people in this world, yeah.
Clean it
definitely.
up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was kind of all over the place, man. I mean, we went to the 70s, a lot of time in the 90s. I don't know, man. It's just been.
Oh. Let's see, Kelsey is saying Bryant Thomas has been found safe. I did not know that. I will have to update that then. Thank you, Kelsey, for letting me know.
Now we have 6 located safes.
Cool. I always like those located safes. Unfortunately, we don't have the reel tonight because we didn't have enough to get the reel going.
Well,
but
originally we would never do one on a Tuesday show because we didn't have enough.
Yeah.
When Tatum started helping, there was a lot more located safes, so we were doing them weekly. But yeah, it's we don't always play them on Tuesdays just because it's such a quick. It's like 5 days between shows.
Right.
So
cool. I'm glad Brian's been found safe. Yay. Always like the located safes. It's a good feeling to know that one was. Yeah, and Wade says even one story is a good start for any show trying to find closure. Definitely. I agree with that. Definitely.
Well,
hopefully next week I can get my background situation figured out so you don't have to look on my green screen.
I don't know what's going on, man.
I don't either. Drives me crazy. Like I always say, technology is great as long as it works, but otherwise it's a pain in the butt.
It doesn't look terrible, but you're right. It is frustrating. We have all this gear, and now it's just this green screen behind you that everybody sees.
No, I sent you a screenshot of what it's telling me when I try to do a background, so you see what it's telling me. And Kelsey says she's been searching all the case names tonight. Cool.
Well, look at her go.
And Wade says sometimes it's just a learning experience. Yeah, a lot of those cases when I was researching those, there's a lot of information on some of them. There's one that I want to work on. Frank Hurrah Jr. has got a lot of information on his too. This is an unsolved or a missing persons presumed homicide.
Right. I'm still waiting on Double T to do that case I sent him, but when he gets that one done, it's gonna be I want to get that case out so bad. It's from the 80s. The 80s. It's just But the thing is like we cover all these cases each week, and it's just like there's always more. It's just so after a while you start feeling bad, man.
Yeah. Oh, Missy So says we will share more of your posts in our group called Buried Cold Cases. Thank you, Missy. Greatly appreciated.
Sweet.
Are you new to viewing our podcast tonight? I don't recollect seeing her name in the comments before.
I don't think I've seen her before either.
If you are new, welcome and thank you.
Welcome.
Greatly appreciated. Oh, yep, she is new. Well, glad you're here and hope to see you in future shows.
Right. Well, hey man, let's get out of here, man. I have got
right.
to tinkle. I don't know why I just said that on the air,
but
I got to get out of here, man.
Yeah, and Wade brings up a good point. Bodies are being found in Lake Mead over there in Nevada every few weeks with the lake drying up. All sorts of missing are being found. Yep, that's for sure. I've seen at least 2 or 3 different stories on bodies being found in Lake Mead that have hit the national level. I haven't heard of any more besides that, but yeah. One was found in a barrel, I believe, and I don't know about the other 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people are surmising that might have been a mafia hit or something. But anywho, Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight to go over these cases and these unsolved homicides. And hopefully, as I always pray, that, they'll reach the right ears and the right hearts, and they'll do the right thing and call that information in and bring a missing person home or help solve an unsolved homicide. And until we see each other next week on Thursday night, you guys stay safe. God bless, and amen.
If you or someone you know is experiencing a suicidal crisis or emotional distress, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255.